And now it's time for our regular feature, the Indo-Canadian Report, focusing on Canada-India relations and the Indo-Canadian community. Joining me is my colleague Wojtek Wjazda. Hello, Wojtek.
Hi, Mark.
Well, today you have, it's a report on a documentary film on an issue, I guess, of some contention, perhaps, in the South Asian community, homosexuality.
That's right. The documentary is called Rewriting the Script, A Love Letter to Our Families. And basically, it's a film about coming out, about not hiding your homosexuality, but actually deciding to tell friends and families. And it focuses on a number of individuals and their families and how they dealt with talking about the issue. And the documentary first came out in 2001.
So why are we talking about it now, these several years later?
Well, because over the weekend the film was shown in Toronto thanks to the efforts of actress and theatre director Yasmin Virani, who heard about the documentary from a friend.
I was looking in terms of putting on another production, and one of my friends mentioned rewriting the script. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And basically he said it's about the coming out process of South Asian individuals within the South Asian community. So I'm like, oh, really? That's really interesting, and I kind of wanted to jump on board immediately. So what I did was I did some research, and I emailed one of the co-creators of the film, Farzana Doctor, and I said, listen, is there a script? When was this production made, and what was the response? And she quickly emailed me back and said that, no, there was never a theater production that was made. However, there was a documentary that was made, and it's available at the Women's Bookstore. So I thought, okay, well, while I was at the women's bookstore one day, I was like, let me pick it up. And I picked it up, and I saw the documentary, and I was so moved by it and so touched by it that I felt that even though I wasn't a part of the making of the film, it was just definitely a cause that I wanted to support, and it was something that I wanted to bring to my fan base and something that I wanted to be a part of.
Yasmin Virani is not herself a lesbian, but has good friends who are gay, and she's heard often enough about the impact of the whole issue of homosexuality within the South Asian community in Canada, and thought it would be important to get exposure for the documentary.
I've witnessed personally, and I've sat with people and seen just really the struggles of their relationships. And it's unfair that they have to go through these things, but nonetheless, they're trying. They really are trying. And I guess that's why this film is so important, because this film is not an L word. It's not a queer as folk. It is one of those films that you can sit there with your uncle or your father or your sister or your brother and not feel ashamed about watching this film and not be embarrassed about it, because it's about people, and they're very normal people. It's a true story. It's a documentary, and it's based on these people's lives, and their honesty comes across.
Is that what struck you the most, the honesty?
Was exactly that, yes, the honesty. The honesty, and just the bravery, the courage. If you have a chance to see the film, you'll see yourself that it's not a slick film at all. It's just a very, you can tell that it's an amateur film, but it's done with all of the good intention. And again, what really struck me was just how brave these people were. I mean, really, to get on film and to talk about your sexuality, and then to have your mother or father sitting beside you and to talk about your sexuality in front of your mother and father, I mean, it's a very, very tough thing to do. And these people did it in hopes of making that path and that conversation and that journey for other South Asian queer individuals easier.
And what also struck Yasmin Virani when she watched the documentary was that the role models in the film were not only the ones coming out with their homosexuality, but also the parents who reacted to it.
So many moving parts to the film. There was one specific individual whose father commented on how he viewed her after, she had admitted to him that she was gay. And I think the few things that he said was just so moving, so touching, that you kind of felt that, yes, on one hand, these individuals who are talking about their sex lives, essentially, and their sexuality, on one hand, they're role models for other South Asian individuals who are gay. But also what immediately struck me was that actually these parents are also role models, because they come from, some of them don't come from a different country, some of them obviously come from different social mores, different economical backgrounds, and yet what you find consistent amongst all of these families is the one thing that is linking them to their children is this sense of unconditional love. So this feeling of whatever you are, whoever you are my child and I love you. And I found that very, very moving.
So that's Yasmin Virani, a Toronto actress and theatre director and producer who hosted a showing of the documentary on Sunday, of the documentary Rewriting the Script, A Love Letter to Our Families.
Now, Wojtek, you mentioned this documentary was released back in 2001. Yasmin Virani herself, as you pointed out, or she pointed out, was not really involved in the film itself. Where has it been shown, and who was behind the making of this film?
Well, the documentary itself was made by a Toronto-based collective of South Asians called Friday Night Productions. At its premiere in 2001, it had hundreds of people attending. Since then, the documentary has been seen in all kinds of schools and community centers. It's also been seen in India as people have taken copies there to show and leave in the community. It's also been sent out throughout Canada and the United States as well as the United Kingdom. The Toronto Women's Bookstore continues to sell the DVD, and there's a limit. Actually, when you think about it, Mark, there's a limit to what the Grassroots Collective can do with few resources. What they have done is set up a website as well where not only can you order the DVD, but there are different links and resources for people. As well, there's a section on discussions and questions that can be used as an educational and also self-help tool with such questions as, what does it mean for gay people to come out to their families? What are some of the things that you think your gay family member wants to hear? What makes it difficult for you to say some of these things to gay family member? And why does suicide feel like the only option for so many gay youth?
All right, now this sounds like an important website. What is it?
It's www.rewritingthescript.ca. So that's www.rewritingthescript.ca.
And of course, Rewriting the Script is the title of that documentary. What about Yasmin Virani herself? What's her next production?
Actually, a play about two young South Asians trying to decide whether they should get married.
My next project is a theater piece about a South Asian couple who are in their late 20s, and they've been dating for some time, and yet, in spite of all the pressure, there just seems to be some difficulty in taking the plunge of getting married. And it really is just a social outlook on why it is that there are individuals in the late 20s who apparently have been together for years and years. What is it about our society right now that we just can't take that plunge?
And that play will be put on sometime in the autumn, Mark.
All right. So once again, before you leave us, Wojtek, what is the website for that film again?
www.rewritingthescript.ca. So www.rewritingthescript.ca.
All right. Thank you very much, Wojtek.
You're welcome.
And just to remind our listeners that the Indo-Canadian Report is heard in India on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at this time. And as always, if you have a question or a suggestion for the Indo-Canadian Report, you can email directly india@rcinet.ca, india@rcinet.ca.